Another day of reckoning here at the VCT about to come nigh. My name is Lestrada, your panel host today. Welcome to Updraft. We're the pre-show of the Valorant Challengers Philippines, and you're joining us here today. Alongside me are my amazing panelists who I'm going to introduce right now. I've got alongside me Viminal and Le. Welcome to the panel here. I'm going to ask you guys week one, but here we are. We're back in week number 2.
Yeah. Oh boy, I mean, I am so excited to see what unfolds this weekend. It's going to be an incredible series of games, a lot to prove on so many teams. Are we going to see a retention arc? Are we going to see a redemption arc from Brand Esports? There's just so much to talk about. It's so much to look forward to, guys.
I mean, the whole idea of a redemption arc and Bren, that just doesn't go really hand in hand, because you talk about them and there's like the Titans, right, Ling? And you know, when you talk about Bren, they're usually like on top, but things have gone a little topsy-turvy in the previous week, haven't they?
They have, and honestly, I'm quite ecstatic because looking at the matchup here, I mean, I might have to say this has been quite ideal. Hashira being the new kings here on the Philippine esports scene, and their reign might actually be challenged because this could be another interesting match against GXR. First things first for them.
Yeah, you mentioned it already. GXR versus Hashira, the first matchup today. And this is, I think, one of the focal points of this week here. It's the retention arc. It's basically, can Hashira hold on to their, their number one spot right now? Sure, we can all agree they're not the number one team just yet. But if they beat Bren, if they beat GXR, I think it might be fair to say that, wouldn't you think? But before we get to that, let's take a look at the match schedule that we have today. I'm going to pull it up for you guys. This is the matches that we're going to be seeing. There's a lot of great ones, like I said earlier, and Vimin will go as we pull it up. Going back to that previous point, Hashira, do you think they can solidify that number one spot here if they beat Bren and GXR again?
They're set up for success. I know for a fact, obviously, that they're not going to be sleeping on that victory, and they're going to be honing and refining their skills as they have since the beginning of VCT. And again, we've talked so much about them being one of the most improved teams so far out of all the contestants that we have.
Yeah, they're definitely improving, like in terms of, I think the way that they play is just so crispy, especially the flash plays. I think they have the most efficient flash plays that we've seen and set pieces that we've seen in the entire VCT. Sure, there's a lot of other things to still work on, but definitely a lot of hope here. Now, let's talk about GXR here, Ling. Still a newly formed roster, but one thing I definitely wanted to put up there is it seems like Hashira's weakness, Hashira's kryptonite, is GXR, and for me it has to do with like just the way the different play styles of the teams, and it seems like GXR just has a better grip on Hashira plays.
Well, I definitely have to agree on you on that because GXR being a team known for a 5-man fragger in itself, this is where we actually see the ultimate weakness that Hashira actually has. We see them struggle against teams that are mechanically adept because they know the set pieces that they're trying to do could not exactly work given in terms of their enemies trying to pug them out. And this is where we actually see them somewhat have a bit of a hard time dealing with that problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you here, but I'm sure you have other insights on this, Viminal. So tell me a little bit about this. Why do you think that is? It seems like every single time Hashira and GXR go head to head, Hashira gets a good start, but eventually GXR figures them out.
Yeah, it's all about, the malleability of both of these teams. And if GXR gets a read on Hashira, it's on them to adapt on the fly. And while Hashira has been stellar in their fundamental mechanics, in their set plays, and the execution, and just, basically how clean they play. But the moment you get a read on that, I think that's Hashira's weakness at this point in time, their adaptability and their ability to think on the fly against someone like GXR.
Yeah, I think that definitely applies. And, as we go on through the next days here, we'll see GXR get stronger. They'll grow, I think, most likely. And as to how Hashira is going to deal with that, that's going to be a really big what if, really big question mark here. But what are the key steps to GXR winning here, Ling? I'm going to go to you for this one. GXR, they have all the tools that they need. They were having a little bit of difficulty with technical issues. But having said that, their play, they looked solid for the most part.
I mean, they definitely do look solid, but given the fact that they have experienced a lot of issues from the last qualifiers, I do hope they are going to be able to bounce back from that. Given that they are going to be playing for this ideal roster they have with Chang around, I mean, I definitely have to say that it would definitely increase in terms of firepower and mechanically in terms of what the team could basically have to offer. Meeting them, like, what are the odds of them meeting each other once again on towards the second week, and having to play on basically different circumstance than in there.
I think the odds of them going head to head are pretty high. It just seems that every single time we have VCT, it's like, oh, Hashira and GXR, their starting day on the first day again. I don't know why. I just has to do with how things are seated. Even no matter how Hashira starts on day number 2, whatever day number 1, it's always GXR or formerly Archangel that they go up against. Very, very big question mark here for me why that happens, but that's just the way the world works sometimes. Viminal, so let's go ahead and sort of break this match down here. Hashira, their keys to success up against GXR. We know for a fact that they need to clean things up. They need to be, I think, win the duels as well. They need to be really on point here. We've seen players step up. We've seen Rabbit step up. He's been doing very well. Players like Envy as well. 2766 has gotten better. But do you think that stepping up individually and having good aim and winning the aim duels against a team like the GXR would be enough to stop the momentum of GXR from winning the game?
That's a very good point. A lot of them have individually been stepping up compared to the previous stages that we've seen. And it's particularly interesting to note that all of them have been capable of fragging out. And against an opponent like GXR, when arguably, sans their 6-man, I think there is no weak link in particular from the GXR roster. So they definitely need to be on point in order for them to be able to execute their set plays, because the moment one of you guys goes down, then you lack a flash, you lack a smoke. What happens to your set play? It can't happen.
I agree. I feel like if Hashira gets the crucial kills they need, they might just be able to win the rounds that they need to take this victory here. But let's not linger on too long. We do have a couple of other topics to talk about here. Let's go ahead and bring up Bren. I think the elephant in the room right now. Bren Esports, they need a big redemption arc. If there's any point, if this were a shonen anime, this would be like, I don't know, when, the hero just sort of like loses all his power and maybe has to go through training. And they think they're doing that. They've replaced one of their rosters. They've taken out Humi from the equation, who, let's be honest here, we've always felt like was a little bit of the weakest link on the Bren side. And obviously no disrespect to that player, but I feel like he's just not the right fit for Bren right now. They're bringing in somebody amazing today, and that's Wits. And Ling, you and I know all about Wits from way back in the other games in CS days. He's just been phenomenal. Do you think that he'll fit into the roster? How do you think this will go?
Well, I definitely see Bren as a team that's more of a 4+1. It's hard for us to actually imagine having someone that will perfectly blend in well with the team, and having Wits play for them this qualifiers. I might have to say this could have a huge plus in terms of like their firepower by up to 50% at least, and it doesn't really say much anything in terms of like how well they are going to be performing. I mean, yes, we are going to be expecting a lot of role swaps here to even adjust in this short span amount of time that they have given to these teams, or rather for these players alone. And I might have to say I don't really see much of a difference right now.
Right, but role swapping is a thing. There's a big question I want to ask, is we all know Wits was playing on Myth recently as in the Thai team, but that disbanded. That didn't really work out too well. And the thing is, I feel like I have to attribute that with Wits not being able to play his role, and which is obviously he's an AWPer, he's a jet main. Will that be the same problem here today? Will Dubstep relinquish that jet role to Wits?
I think, guys, that it's a very curious choice to take Wits into the Bren formula, right? We often say it's kind of like a 4+1, but then again, today is something different. This time it's different because they never brought in someone to take the duelist role. It's always someone to take the initiator, someone to take the smoke role, or perhaps flex. But this time, Dubstep's not going to be on that jet. And who knows? It might actually work better for them, giving the Brand Squadron a more solid fundamental
Well,
backbone in
yeah,
that
you know what?
sense.
I agree with you. And one of the things that make really Bren work, and this has been the same thing even back in CS days when they used to play under Mineski. This roster, they seem to be so good at having multiple high-level players, like the best of the best,
Yeah.
really just on the same squad, and then they somehow just all understand each other's language, and then it works. It doesn't necessarily have to be about what roles they play, but as long as they have that quality, that caliber of player on the top five, on their starting roster, you know, they're going to have a good performance because that's just how they roll. They have a natural inherent understanding of one another. But my question is, that seemed to work before. That's
Yeah.
how they worked in CS. Ling,
Yeah.
this is a different game. This is Valorant we're talking about here. And it's not easy to just have 5 really good fraggers and then just, and then just pop off on the server, because the nature of the game, you have roles here, right?
And this is where we actually see them sort of try to figure things out along the way. Vim mentioned earlier that duelist roles are basically what Bren does rather chose not to give out to like the
Yeah.
newer players or the new members of their team, which is I honestly think could have been the best choice for them because they know for a fact that they're not comfortable adding this different type of play style and putting so much responsibility on one person that they're not exactly comfortable playing around. This is
Yeah.
where we actually see this type of choices actually being made for the team, and might have to say the Wits being the duelist right now could be what the one right thing that Bren actually did. They know Wits is fully capable of living up to that role of fully embracing the Jet, and this is where we actually could see Bren back onto its form with a completely different element on them.
Yeah, well, maybe it'll stick, maybe it won't. There's only one way to find out, and that's going to be later on today if they play. But let's discuss this later on when we get to the match itself. We do have one more matchup to talk about, and I feel like this one's one of the big ones here. We have the Homecoming Kings. We have the Balikbayans, of course, joining us for the first time here today. Yeah, we're Balikbayan boxing this
I
time.
love
man.
it. I love it.
Me too, man. Just sorry, not Ether. Excuse. I saw it. Alpha Esports. They're
Yeah.
back into the picture. They're finally here. It's taken them a while. They came into the country. They landed here. They performed in a couple tournaments. But let's be real. Those performances, they were awful. This is the first time they've actually managed to find some success in VCT. Viminal. What do you think? How
Okay.
do you think this is going to go?
You know, it's a tall order for a team based in NA to move to the other side of the planet and then perform in a completely different scene. They're not used to the playstyle here in the Philippines. And, Dax would often talk about how we're a melting pot of culture, sort of reflecting Filipino culture in general. We try to emulate a lot of the other regions. And maybe that's a bit of a factor as to why Alpha Esports Pro had a bit of difficulty adjusting.
Right.
But the question is here, have they adapted? Have they sort of felt out the way the scene works, given their time and given their performances in previous tournaments?
Well, let's be real. They're going up against a team who I feel like they have a fairly decent shot at, right? So it's going to be Alpha Esports versus Pirate 6045. This I'm correct, right? It's Pirates, right? And
Yes.
yeah, they're going up against each other today, and they have a fairly good shot. But the question is, I feel like we need to watch this game as sort of like a barometer, Ling, just to figure out, okay, if they can really crush Pirates, maybe they have a good chance at actually beating Bren or GXR or Hashira. But if it's kind of like a close game, and G Insanity just hard carries everybody, and maybe GK Baby underperforms, then we're kind of like shaky on how they can do on the rest of the tournament.
Well, definitely shaky. I definitely see the team like Alpha Esports, like literally a team, nothing really special going on with them, especially with consisting of members that have not exactly gotten that enough competitive experience. And given that
Right.
to the equation, I might have to say with GK Baby on towards their team, a player that doesn't really have that much experience with CS, it plays a huge factor on how the games are basically going because there's a lot of mechanics that are applied in a game like Valorant and could be carried over and should be carried over, I might have to say, on esports titles such as Valorant, because those type of like those nuggets of knowledge knowledge is definitely what you definitely need, and having to teach that bit by bit could take a lot for Alpha Esports to actually have. And I don't think this level of competition is definitely
Mm.
could be quite refined compared to what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, sorry, I'd like to add as well. I mean, that's no mystery. It's not a secret that GK Baby has no CS experience. I mean, he states it in a stream that this is his first FPS, essentially his first tactical FPS. And I met GK Baby personally back in when we were playing battle royale games. So it's a totally different world, and oftentimes I think that battle royale is the complete opposite of tactical shooters. You flip the world upside down. And yeah, you're totally right. They're the only team here that lacks CS experience for some of their members. So
Well, you say that,
know.
but you say that there's a lot of teams that came. The battle royale is a completely different game, but there have been players that transitioned successfully.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not forget Dreamfire. Dreamfire came into VCT. They surprised everyone with how much raw power they have, and now Eman and Georgie are both on the GXR roster. So that was a really good trajectory of growth that we saw from them. But unfortunately, they're not the same team anymore. But it just goes to show that no matter what game you are from, I think you can have a chance at adapting, just like how Jesse Vash came from Dota 2, just like how Jesse Vash actually came from other titles. So I feel like it's a little bit of a mixed pot here, a little bit of a toss-up, or a little bit of a cauldron. But you know what? Speaking of cauldrons and mixing pots, Ling has actually a very special surprise for us today. So we have a new segment on the show, ladies and gentlemen, for everyone who's watching. Ling, what do you have there behind your back? I feel like I think it's really rather symbolic. You know what I mean? It's like, what is that?
This baby right here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's get a good
you're talking
look
about
at
my
it.
rice cooker now.
Oh my gosh.
So what's inside this rice cooker is actually the unpopular opinion by my rice cooker. Of course, not by me. And let's see what's inside. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's a scroll now. Wow.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it's a spell.
What does it say?
What does it say? You can't just read it and not show us.
It says here that GN Sanity is the Berg of Alpha Esports. Now, panel, what do we have to say about that?
All right. So that was Ling's unpopular opinion, guys. For
That
you
was
guys who
rice
don't know.
cooker's unpopular opinion, not mine.
Okay.
That's the rice cooker's opinion, okay? Just to put it out there for the record. Okay.
But
let me
it says
start off.
right there, Ling to X. I think we should correct that production. It should be. There. Thank you. Thank you. They fixed it. Thank you very much. Link's rice cooker says G Sanity is just the Berg of Alpha Esports. Viminal, what are your reactions to that?
What does that even mean exactly? I mean, like, okay, we all know GN Sanity to be a very popular streamer, a very entertaining guy, good content creator. He's also a very talented player on the field. He's a very consistent performer. We've seen from his ranked games as well, and of course his tournament performances, always a stalwart of their team. And I guess you could see close parallels to someone with a lot of star power, such as Berg. But that's just my 2 cents.
But let's ask you, Ling. What do you think about why is he the Berg? Why is he the Berg of Alpha Esports?
Well, we all know that there's only 2 stream teams here in the Philippines. Alpha Esports being the balikbayan, I might have to say, in our country.
And there's a streamer team as well.
Yeah, they're a streamer team as well. And there's Kadiliman, who is like an all-out Pinoy roster.
Right.
And with that being said, we definitely see a lot of common denominators on towards the roster, which is everyone there basically streams. And you know who the star player on each team was? Berg, back when Berg was still playing with Kadiliman, he was the star player and all eyes were on him. But this time around, we see Alpha Esports running with their all-star quarterback, which is Gian Saturday. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a pretty similar storyline here.
Well, we'll find out if that's going to be true or not. But let's move on. Currently, guys, we do have some other stuff to talk about. We want to show you what's happening for the rest of the day. We're going to pull up the brackets of the tournament for you guys. So, for everybody who is tuning in, this is what we're going to be looking at for the rest of it. So, we're starting off with the quarterfinals. We got 3 today. Get 1 tomorrow, 2 semifinals on top of that, and then the grand finals itself. Vimin will break it down for us. What are we expecting to see here?
Yeah, so first up, game one, going to be a very explosive matchup. Defending champs, HSR, Hashira, going to be up against Galaxy Racer, who, again, were sort of denied their opportunity last time around for reasons, but I think they're going to be back, and they're going to be stronger than ever. So I'm really looking forward to this first matchup. And then, of course, we have a new face in the VCT coming into the second match of the bracket, Empire versus Fulcrum Esports Catalyst. So again, you know, the narrative here in the VCT, guys, is just we see a new team, Fulcrum and Alpha Esports. We expect this to be a sort of barometer as to their power level. We finally know how they stack up against the top teams in the country, and that to me is very exciting.
Well, before we go into any further, Ling, what's the matchup that you're looking forward to today?
Well, it's definitely going to be GXR versus Hashira.
Yeah.
We know that this usurper right here is going to be facing their ultimate kryptonite, and I want to see how this match actually goes.
Ooh, I like that. The usurper Hashira. That's a
Yeah,
good name. I think we should keep that. I think we should keep that. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so before we talk about anything further, we do have something special to show you guys. We got a little bit of a video teaser coming up for you right now. It's the newest thing here in Valorant Challenger. So go ahead, guys, and check it out. Pull out your popcorn. We do have a little bit of a video surprise for you. So I won't delay it any longer. Check it out. How cool was that? How cool! How cool was that? I mean, Iceland so close. So we're just about to go to it. I mean, everybody's dreaming, right? Everybody wants to be there. That's the place to be. We want to go where it's cold. It's kind of getting to summer here in the Philippines.
I want to go there. I wish I could, join the fun.
I would pay for my own ticket just to hang out. I mean, I won't even, just to hang out. But let's rein it in a little bit and actually talk about the games today. So GXR Hashira, and let's face it, the marquee match, the top match of today, the one everybody's wanting to see, I think. Well, mostly. This one is going to be a close one. Let's take a look at the roster of Hashira and sort of start to break it down right now. The individual players here have been great, but we know for a fact that these guys work much better as a team than, the sum of its parts is greater than the whole.
Yep. I mean, taking a look at this roster here, we see stalwarts like Hatred and Jeremy being just such consistent fraggers, and Envy has his very bright moments as well. Now, most recently, what I find interesting about this team is that perhaps Rabbit and 2766 were lacking a bit in terms of firepower, but we did see some role swaps. We did see some circumstances change. You know, they've moved here to Manila and they play together in one area, and you can really see their cohesion come into play. And I feel like 2766 and Rabbit has definitely stepped up individually.
Hmm. I agree, but let's take a look at the Galaxy roster right now. See what they actually have here. The kryptonite, or rather, the players that seem to just have a good read on Hashira individually, whatever. As a team, they know how to handle it, and they're looking like the favorites coming into this one, despite the fact that Hashira won. Lin.
Well, contrary for like what Hashira has, there's really not much flexibility in terms of like the roles here being played out by the players coming out from GXR, where we actually see a lot of specialty agents could be played out once again, especially for a man like Ching who's consistently playing on Jet. And I really want to see how much different this could possibly be, because this matchup, this rematch, I might have to say, could be something that they have definitely prepared for. They might actually have something up their sleeves to go up against a team like Hashira, and it's pretty interesting on how much time they've actually prepared during their downtime, and of course,
Mm.
what more could this team actually be? What
Yeah.
other potential could they actually unlock?
Yeah, well, let's find out as we go into the head-to-head and look at the individual players that will be stepping up here. Hatred and Georgie. Well, to no surprise here, just two duelists that are quite honestly, and I think the most apt way of putting it would be just cracked. These guys are just nut. They hit their shots, they're nutty, but Hatred a little bit more flexible. He didn't really have. He doesn't always have those star performances because he does flex out and he does play Sage a lot. Viminal.
Yeah.
He likes to switch things up, and Georgie's a little bit more of a straight bullet. He shoots straight. He's Reyna through and through.
Yeah, I mean, when you take into account, you know, the flexibility of Hashira compared to GXR, who perhaps are a bit more straightforward in their compositions in terms of the agent picks, but what GXR does, they do really, really well. When Georgie is on that duelist or when Ching is on that duelist, they're always, always on point.
Oh yeah. It just feels like when they hit their shots, it's so hard to stop them. There's a lot of rounds that they played last time against Hashira that it was just Ching and Georgie wrecking the just the entire face of Hashira right there. But I think a lot of it has to do with where they play, what the maps are going to be. Let's take a look at the map vetoes for today. It's, of course, going to be starting off with none other than Bind. And honestly, just an amazing map for both of these teams, followed up by Ascent and Haven. And if I'm going to be honest here, I feel like finally, after all the time that after this matchup that we've seen so many times, even in the previous iterations of this roster as Archangel, this is the first time I can safely say I think Hashira has won the draft. What do you think about that, Lynn?
Well, first and foremost, I would have to say Hashira could have won the draft, but would actually discounted the fact that how they actually played against GXR beforehand wasn't the GXR form that we are going to be seeing here today. They're playing with a completely different roster with Ching in it finally, and this could be something that could caught off guard a team like Hashira as of like this series.
I mean, dealing with the firepower from
Ching.
Yeah, exactly. How do you go about that, Viminal?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the first map. Trying to recall what happened when they first.
The last
met,
one was Bind, and they played
it was Bind,
and it was mostly Ching,
very decisive.
Exactly, just Ching running out and then shooting people and just taking them down. Sorry, that was the second one. The first one was Hashira winning.
It was GXR with their 6-man, I do believe.
Right, exactly. That's yeah. But before we go into talk about that any further, sorry, we do have to wrap this up because we're about to start with the game. I'm going to ask you guys who you think is going to win this one. What's the scoreline? Vim, I'll start with you.
Man, oh my gosh, this is a tough one, but I'm going to say 2-1 in favor of GXR this time around.
Okay, fair play. Ling?
I would follow the same fashion, 2-1, favor of GXR.
Oh, well, somebody's got to change it up. I'm going to say Hashira this time. All right, Hashira in a 2-0. I feel like they're going to be better this week. I mean, in the formal predictions, I predict the GXR, but I feel like on this panel, I got to switch it up here. But in terms of switching it up, I'm going to do that right now and pass it off to the casters. But, of course, stay tuned, guys. We're just about to start with the game. It's going to be GXR versus Hashira.
This quarterfinals, man, is going to be a doozy. Hashira versus Galaxy Racer. My name is Asarai, and of course, joining with me now is the one, the only, the black and blue.
Yes, thanks for that introduction, man. We got some great games coming up today, guys, but of course, the first one here to focus on is Galaxy Racer versus Hashira. Two teams that we kind of peg as like the top 2 and 3 slots, both of them fighting for that current position to be top dog. And Asarai, I'm excited for what we got today, but let us know, how you doing, number 1, and number 2, what can we expect?
Firstly, I'm doing great. If people will notice, I got a new haircut, guys. Thanks for asking. Thank you so much. And I got a pomade that Illustrato gave it to me, so my hair is looking pretty fire as of the moment. But I think in Illustrato's words, lots of the star players, star power from these two teams, Hatred and Georgie, will definitely be in a power struggle. But honestly, I feel like this match is going to be a retribution match for Galaxy Racer, no cap, because we can't really put out of the limelight that there was some issues that Galaxy Racer was experiencing in that previous bout that they had with Hashira. And now, looking at this, they might be coming back full force here, and they want that revenge up against Hashira.
Yeah, so right now, as you can see, we're going to be playing Bind to start things off, and this is a map that honestly both of these teams are quite formidable at, and I'm very curious to see who's going to be able to start this one off strong. Defending side and attacking side is, honestly, I think this is one of the more equal maps, and so I don't think anybody is at a necessary advantage here, knowing how good these teams are mechanically and how their strategies have been evolving throughout these past weeks. We're going to see on the HSR side, they do have, well, actually on both sides, they do have the Omen. The difference is here, though, Georgie's going to be on that Reyna and the Jet as well for Ching. Here, a solo duelist is what Hashira are going to be working with, and to be fair, this is their playstyle. They do play the solo duelist quite a bit, and this time it's going to be Jeremy once more here on the Raze. And so, what do you think about the compositions on both sides, with the Killjoy being here in GXR and the Cypher on HSR?
Select your agent.
Just makes sense. There's nothing really different from what these teams have used in the past, and honestly, Galaxy Racer, they're a team that likes to go for the straightforward way. If you've heard of Ching, if you've heard of Georgie, they're just fantastic duelists. They will not go any other route from that. They will start picking off sites here as they're going to be starting on that attacking side, and this double whammy, I think, is what was really missing when Hashira and GXR played up against each other. Was it? I think when GXR was using Blast. So that's something that I think right now they're happy having Ching back, and he's back to full form. We've seen them stream a little bit in their nice little boot camp house, and here we are, man. It's just going to start it off.
Yeah, super excited to get things going. I think both of the teams might just be in their boot camp now. Finally, GXR one looks rad, by the way, and actually both of them do. It's honestly, a lot of the Valorant teams here in the Philippines are finally getting, you know, that type of support and almost getting spoiled as they deserve here in the FPS community, because no other shooter has brought this many, how do you say, gaming houses into the fold for, you know, so many teams. And so for a shooter, Valorant is doing really good right now. I love to see the support the teams are getting. More boot camps, much better. But let's get the game going here, Asarai. Map number 1 to start things off. The pistol kicking off here. And as you can see, GXR on this attacking side, they seem to be going for kind of a split. Looking for where they want to go to start things off. Will they go towards Showers, or will they push this short position towards Hookah? 2 defenders waiting in that, though, from Hashira.
MN starting off with a alarm bot at mid. I do kind of like this. That will stop any form of pushes, as Johan is going to be holding off the A long. It seems like they are aware that there is some play from Hashira on their defenders here, where they like to push out aggressively on Shower, and maybe because of that, Galaxy Racer is looking for that one lurk that could be coming out from B. But Hashira, on the other end, as we can see on their minimap, has just put their foothold on Hookah as well as underneath it. And as Hashira, or rather GXR, start to move into the B site, this could be for a 4 versus 2 if they're not careful.
Yeah, but fortunately here, Hashira, they're holding on to Hookah, and if there's one power position I would think on the B side, it has to be Hookah and Window. You get so much sightline, you can deny the default plan from Hookah alone. The thing is, you can be smoked off quite easily, and so that's gonna be something that they will have to deal with rather as they push on here. But they've taken control here of the Octagon, and Georgie's gonna be the first one on in. They're crawling their way. No information to be given out yet, but they do know the push is coming here. The smokes will come out. The sound cues is going to be enough for them to push on in, and they have to know the rotation has to come in soon. There's still still 3 defenders for Hashira on the A side. They're not entirely sold on this just yet, but they should be, because the product is fully here for them to take. And Eman, he's going to be taken down. Hatred taking the first one off here for the side of Hashira, and here comes a full in rotate. The retake is about to happen here, Asarai. What will happen?
Well, what will happen is GXR is still stuck in the middle of the site. They have to wiggle their way out, or it's going to be, well, a kind of pinch that's going to be coming out from Hashira here. Johan and Shing holding their ground, but they have to push out as there is a threat of that spike being defused. And look at what they just did. I mean, 2766 is going to be the last one to remain, but that positioning in hookah, that pinch coming in from spawn was fundamental, was crucial for Hashira to retake this round, retake the site, and basically give them that first round.
A great start here from Hashira. GXR a bit too late on that rotate, I think. I get why they were kind of didn't want to necessarily buy into rotating into the B site early on. Probably thought like it could be a fake here on Hashira's side, but well, they bet on the wrong horse. And in this case, GXR a bit too late on that one. They did have good hookah control, yes, but it didn't really gain them too much after the fact when they were trying to go for the retake. And so Hashira here, a good opening pistol start for them. They will have the economic advantage coming into this, of course, and so now GXR on this attack, they're playing quite spread out. You can see them 1 here towards a long position, 2 towards short, and 2 towards B mid. And so right now, what it tells you is that they're kind of playing for information, trying to see what they can find. Hopefully, that fight will come to them here towards B short, because they do have 3 players there. Georgie playing on the Reyna, lurking in the showers, but he's yet to be revealed so far. They do send a shock dart his way, but doesn't do much.
They're lessening that amount of map control that GXR have. I mean, they're still pretty fatal. If you think about it, Georgie and Ching can always make magic happen with those sheriffs. And what Hashira seems to be using as of the moment is a lot more utility contact first, then flashes to come out, then they'll start to go and pre-fire GXR here. Although GXR, they're just going to be playing a lot more bodies to put onto the B site. This could actually work out in the end, but what could also happen is that they're just going to have that spike to be planted down. Hatred is going to be waiting on the edges of that hookah, just pop right out. We'll decide otherwise. His guts popped off. Eman is still holding the lurk onto short here, but everybody else from Hashira is coming in from spawn. So what's going to be the options here for GXR? It's like you said, but Johan popping a shot onto Hatred and spotting out Envy here. This could mean trouble for Hashira.
Yeah, well, they do find a bunch of frags their way, but it's still a 1v3 at the end of things. Hashira, just a flurry of them scattering all around, and Envy will get another frag on the board here for the Hashira side. They did lose that early pick initially there on, I believe it was Jeremy, but in the end, they do have the firepower, the manpower as well, and so Hashira able to take a second round on the board, as they should after winning the pistol. But now, we are finally into the gun round, where GXR are going to be looking to make their mark. The question is, what exactly will they bring to the table? They will have, the economy, of course, to finally buy up into this one. And mind you, that scoreboard will update in a bit. It should be 2-0 for the side of Hashira, but as we're moving into things here, it seems like GXR, once again, they like employing this quite a bit, wherein they send maybe 3 towards the A side and then 2 towards B. The 3A seems like to be focusing their attention to start things off here towards Showers Asteroid. They do have that recon vault, of course, for the quick information. Nothing to be found inside Showers. More passive on the play here from Hashira inside the A side. Actually, 3 of them defenders waiting in there. And honestly, right now, I think for GXR, I don't know if the A side is necessarily the right decision to be making right now. They could go for like a short push, but there is a crossfire then for them to deal with. And so this Showers position might be their only hope if they want to go towards a, I think a rotation here towards the B side is the right call, and that's exactly the one that they're going to be making.
I think the reason why they just put 3 bodies there is, you remember in week 2, there was a lot of plays that came out from, what was it? I think that was Jeremy, Rabbit, and 2766, where their combo was Rabbit uses his dart to get information outside of shower, or rather it was 2766, then Rabbit uses his paranoia, Jeremy pushes out and then gets 2 kills. So I think that's what GXR was kind of prompting to see happening coming into this gun round, but seems like that's not going to be the case. They're going to be using Carl here to flush out the hookah with his ultimate. I do like that. It's very aggressive, but they still haven't gotten that map control. Playing back into the site here, but Hatred and Envy could prove to be such a spoil sport, as now Hatred is just popping them down, and there's no real chance for GXR to pierce the site.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2v3 right now. Bring it to a 1v2. Carl finding a frag there, and gets actually is first. And so as the shock darts come on out, it does flush 2766 out of the corner. They do know he is there. He has a great idea. He does have an owl drone, and he does still have a recon ball to play off of. The thing is, he's just going to go for a dry and get shot in the back. Envy to take him all out, and another round for the side of Hashira. But I think there, Asteroid, I kind of want to point out that I don't know, the initiation with that Hunter's Fear to clear out Hookah, I think it's a bit too much. I guess they were kind of wary of the fact that HSR do like holding on to Hookah, like they saw in the pistol round, and so they kind of want to preemptively clear it out immediately. But the thing is, I felt like it would have been used better for post-plant, and the fact that they already committed so much utility into Hookah, I mean, they already had the Leer there anyways. There's like 2 of them pushing on in. It would have been enough. I guess they were afraid of like a double stack towards the Hookah side, but in this case, they guessed wrong, and so another round on the board for Hashira.
I think what's the kind of disgusting thing here for Hashira is they employed a double sentinel comp. And when you look at it from a perspective of an attacker, when you go onto the B site and you have to deal with a wall, a slow, a trap, and cipher cages, there's just no way that I think double duelists will be able to pierce through unless you get the kill onto Cypher, which I don't think you will because Envy has been playing such a passive game. He's just been holding elbow the whole time, and I think now GXR feeling about this is gonna try their luck onto the A site. Jeremy, of course, is just the fantastic stalwart. The back of site is just locked down by him. He just has full knowledge, full vision of short and shower, and GXR gets slapped in the face once again.
Yeah, no chance for them to push on in. They had all the sight lines looking their way here for the side of Hashira. And with that, a 4th round on the board. So there's a case in lesson, you know, if you don't smoke off the right angles when you want to take, and especially that you are on an eco, you really want to smoke things off, you know, cut those long sight lines down, make it a bit shorter, something that you can actually work with the force buy that you do have. It's going to be quite beneficial, but this time you can see 2766 on the Sova, 8 frags on his name already. He's doing quite well here to start things off for the side of Hashira, and they do get quite a good round on the board. I mean, mind you, this was the map that they beat Bren on, if I remember correctly, in the grand final in the best of 5 yesterday. This is one of the maps that they beat Bren on here on Bind, and so Hashira, definitely formidable as a team here coming on in, but GXR, we know how these guys are mechanically. We're going to see if they're going to be able to stand up to the test. As the smokes come on out, they smoke off Heaven. Only a single one to be coming out here, and they do smoke off there the CT spawn entrance. And so Jeremy pops his showstopper preemptively already. He knows that he can try and bait him on in, and he finds another. That's a double kill going his way. Johan will be taken down. 2766, that's one of his own here towards Georgie, and Eman will find trade-off, but Carl's going to answer back. It's a 2v3 right now on the take here towards the A side. Will they give it up here, Hashira? Will they play for retake? It seems to be the case.
A bit of a mistake there from Rabbit. He was that a shrouded step right behind his opponents? I think it was, and he got caught. Jeremy wanted to pick up the kills as well, but got put in a very precarious and rather awkward situation. Now, as they're going to try to force themselves right in, Hatred, of course, does his thing with the revive, but Emin picks it up once again with the double kill. Here's the peek out from Envy. This could actually catch him off guard in that beautiful lineup. He just needs to shut it down, but Emin could not. And that is another Hashira win here with multiple ultimates expended by their roster. And I just gotta say, Black, that was such a disgusting show of force by Jeremy.
It really was. You can see this opening pick here. Okay, he baits him on out, waits for him to step